Please just take me home. I can't stay in this hospital anymore. I heard these words more times than I can count in 7 years of work. I heard people crying over the phone, families feeling helpless, patients stuck in hospital beds for weeks or even more. And every time I heard those words, I always told myself, I don't want that for me. But the real reason why I decided to be consistent with my exercising, it's not because I was hearing these words, it's because I realized who those people were. To give you context, I worked 7 years in the medical department of a travel assistance company. I was managing high-cost cases of Canadians who were hospitalized outside of Canada while they were traveling. My job started at the moment that someone was admitted in a hospital outside of Canada until they were discharged and well to go home on their own, or they had to be brought back home with medical assistance. Every day I had to speak to hospital staff, the patients and their families. I followed hundreds of cases from beginning to end, but most of time the patients, they were there not because they had a diagnosis that kept them in the hospital, but because they simply had no mobility to get out of the hospital on their own. Some patients, they only waited a few days to be out of the hospital. Others waited for weeks, even months. And during those years that I worked in the medical department, I heard stories that changed the way that I think about health, aging, and exercise. What affected me the most, it wasn't the diagnosis itself. Of course, that some stories, they were really sad, but what affected me the most was what happened afterwards. I watched people lose their independence. I watched families trying to reorganize their entire lives because now they had a loved one who was completely dependent on others. And over time, I started noticing a pattern. Many of the patients who struggled the most to regain mobility and independence, they were living a sedentary lifestyle for long before they were hospitalized. That observation stayed with me because those, one, they weren't rare cases, and two, they were just regular people like me and you who never imagined that they would find themselves in that situation. No one sits around thinking about that they're gonna lose their mobility one day. They're all living their normal lives. They're working, they're taking care of the families, they're running errands, they're making plans, doing all the things that we all assume that we will be able to do every day. And honestly, that's what makes mobility so easy to take for granted, because most people, they don't think about it while they have it. Most people, they don't wake up every day being grateful because they were able to get out of bed. Most people, they don't celebrate when they are able to climb a flight of stairs. We don't think twice when we are able to carry groceries into the house. We don't realize how valuable those things are because simply they are part of everyday life until they're not. And I think that's why us women, we postpone taking care of our health. Not because we don't care, but because we're busy. We are working, taking care of for the kids, our pets, taking care of our aging parents, our homes. And when there's not enough time of the day, usually we are the ones who get pushed for tomorrow. I was like that too. Exercise was something that I would start on Monday. The walk around the block can wait. The workout can wait. The health can wait because there are more urgent things to do. The problem with that is that the consequences, they don't care how busy you are. They don't care how good your reasons are. Your body doesn't know that you're busy taking care of everyone else. And going back a little bit for those patients that I used to take care of, most of them, they were, of course, they were concerned about their recovery, but there were a lot of them that were concerned about something else, about becoming a burden to their families. That's what hurt them the most. I heard women saying that they were feeling guilty because now it's their husband who has to take care of everything. They were feeling emotionally guilty because their children had to rearrange their lives to take care of them. I think that the worst was that they were feeling guilty because they couldn't give themselves anymore like they used to. For many women, that fear of you're not being capable of helping anymore can run especially deep. Because many of us, we spend our lives being the ones who help, being the ones who take care of everyone else, being the ones who arrange everything for everyone else. So the thought of needing help ourselves can be very hard to accept. Last year in 2025, I sprained my ankle. For 6 months, I couldn't do everything that I was used to. I had to ask a lot for my fiance, Michael, to do stuff for me. And I'm almost sure that my recovery took much longer because I just couldn't stay put. I had to feel like I could do something. I was able to help like I used to. So staying there with a sprained ankle without being able to do the things that I used to do, it was very hard to accept for me. And during those 7 years, watching over and over the same thing happening, I started questioning myself, what kind of future am I building for myself right now? Not 5 years from now, not when I retire, today. And at some point, after handling hundreds of cases, I made a decision. I decided that I wanted to age strong. I decided that I wanted to maintain as much as independence as I got older. I decided that if something was ever to happen to me, it's because it had to happen, not because I was taking my mobility for granted. And that's when exercise for me stopped being about appearance. It stopped being about looking fit. It stopped being about weight. It became about freedom. It became about maintaining choices. It became about protecting the quality of life I hope to have decades from now. It doesn't mean that I became an athlete overnight. It doesn't mean every workout is easy. It doesn't mean that I never struggled with consistency. But my reason for exercising completely changed. I wasn't anymore exercising for the next summer or for the next 30 years. I started thinking about who is the woman that I want to be when I'm 50, 60, 7, 80, and 90 years old. The woman who could be independent, the woman that could still travel, the woman who could still carry her own groceries, put the dishes away, take care of my pets. Eventually, the emotional weight of those medical cases became too much and I moved to a different department. But the lesson that I learned from those cases, it's still with me and it guides my choices today. The biggest lesson that I realized, it was that taking care of myself also meant taking care of my loved ones. Because when I take care of my health today, I don't feel like I'm doing only for me. I'm investing in a possibility of living a longer life with a good health. And for me, the most importantly is that I'm reducing the chances of having the people that I love to have to carry responsibilities that could be prevented. If you are a woman who works, who takes care of a household, takes care of her family, and is constantly putting herself at the bottom of the list, I want to leave you with one question today. Are you taking care of the woman you will become in 20 years from now? Because aging is inevitable, but aging strong, which for me, it means having your mobility, your independence when you are 80, 90, is something that we build long before we need it. Before you go, thank you for staying with me until the end. I know your time is important between work responsibilities and everything else that it's part of the everyday life. If this kind of conversation makes sense to you, subscribe to my channel because I would love to continue this journey with you and I don't want you to miss the next videos. See you in the next one.